Many people enjoy gambling, shopping, playing video games, but for people with a behavioral addiction, those activities can become a damaging compulsion that comes with deep emotional as well as financial costs. Joining us now is Lisa Pont. She's an addiction therapist with the Problem Gambling Institute of Ontario at the Centre for Addiction and Mental Health. It's good to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
You know, and when we talk about addiction, people usually first off would think substances, right? What and how do those kinds of addictions compare to things like gambling, shopping, that kind of thing?
Well, they are actually quite similar. I think that the reactions in the brain, the underlying issues, the concurrent mental health and addiction issues that sometimes go alongside, as well as some of the negative consequences, are actually quite similar. And when we look at the kinds of symptoms that constitute an addiction, behavioral addiction, specifically gambling, that has been very well researched, they share very common symptoms. So things like loss of control, continuing to use despite negative consequences. So in those ways, we are starting to see more and more similarities.
And see, the thing is, if someone's gambling, or someone's playing video games, or someone's shopping compulsively, these are things that they can do, you know, legally in public. So people aren't going to say necessarily, you know, that person's shopping a lot, they have a problem, or that person's gambling a lot, they have a problem. Whereas substances are different. So therein lies a challenge, right?
For sure. I think you hit on something really important. Sometimes they can be a bit easier to hide because you're not intoxicated, so to speak.
Right.
You don't smell of anything. And you can do them so publicly. And in fact, you know, we make jokes about retail therapy. And some people, you know, shop excessively sometimes and they don't have a lot of consequences. But some people spend or shop excessively over a prolonged period of time and actually have quite a bit of financial devastation as a result of it.
And that means there's something deeper going on.
Yes, typically there is. It's quite common for there to be some underlying issues from, you know, exposure to trauma, to poor self-esteem, to difficulty dealing with hard emotions.
And so that being said, Lisa, if someone has a loved one out there and they're going through these kinds of addictions, what can be done? How do you spot it? How do you know what's happening?
Well, I think it varies depending on the addiction. So, for example, if someone was video gaming excessively, that might look a bit different than someone who's shopping excessively.
So tell us about that, the difference.
Yeah. So with shopping and gambling, you might see more consequences in the area of their finances. But with video gaming, they might, let's say, be staying up very late at night and having trouble getting up in the morning and meeting their responsibilities. But I think what's salient is what you notice no matter what the addiction is, that people start to withdraw from or disengage from their other activities and become more focused on the problematic behavior. So they're spending less time with friends and family, they might be more emotionally withdrawn, might be having trouble at work or school. So when you start to see those things, that's when it might be helpful to start, you know, asking questions.
And how do you do that? How do you engage them? You know, and we've got to wrap up, but what kinds of questions, how do you engage someone that is disengaged themselves?
Knowing that there is help out there and then where to send them. So starting with a family doctor is a good place, going to the CAMH or Problem Gambling Institute website. But I would just say to the person what I'm observing. I'm concerned about you because I noticed the following things. How are you doing? And engage them in a conversation rather than sort of making any kind of accusations.
Yeah, or backing off completely and not wanting to deal yourself.
Absolutely.
Great to have you here. Some good advice. Nice to meet you.
You too.
You'll find a link to the Problem Gambling Institute of Ontario on our website.